Welcome everyone to January 9th, 2019, Brilliance in Commerce Trust webinar. We're going to talk about the global currency reset today, global consciousness reset, and every kind of major reset you can imagine. And we have a lot more people joining today. Welcome. I'm glad you were able to make it. And those who are watching the replay from YouTube, you're welcome too. There's a collective consciousness here. We have a variety of services, as you know. We tend to specialize in that which is liberating the financial system from the old to the new. We tend to specialize in that which is liberating rather than enslaving. And so we have the debt elimination system many people have enjoyed. We have the natural law trust, which will be a main topic today. And that has been freeing people from a lot of the statutory old reptilian kind of limitations. And we also have variety of side consultations and affiliates and partners who are providing the Monaco Management Group and the Lighthouse Law Club and the revocation of the election for removing Americans from the income tax rolls. And we have the credit leasing program for those who have good credit and wish to lease their credit out. We also have the bank instruments program that is available for those who have contact with billionaires and people with 100 million plus, a safe place where that money can go with zero risk and produce good returns and referral fees. So all of these are assisting the transition, the bridge from the old to the new. And we wish to thank you for being on board and contributing your talents, your expertise, and your resonance. You may have noticed that Brilliance in Commerce has been privileged to be a member of the Worldwide Charter for Fair International Commerce. Here's our certificate. For those of you watching on video, you can see it. And it's a United Nations organization. It's a very good affiliation, something that is given to those who support integrity in commerce. So today, January 9th, 2019, we have our very first focus on the global currency reset as it applies to natural law trust, asset protection, and the entire perspective of what is happening on this planet today. A good way to start the new year. The next one will be February 13th, 2019. And past webinars can be viewed at brilliance-videos.com. Brilliance-videos.com leads you to the YouTube channel where you can see our past videos. Houseoffreedomtrust.com for those of you who don't have an affiliate link, or for those of you who need a generic connection, leads to the trust section of, well, actually it leads to our Brilliance in Commerce website, but it's basically the traditional link that House of Freedom Trust, which Randall Hillner brought to us and made the head of our trust department at Brilliance in Commerce. So house-of-freedom-trust.com. For those who need a phone number, it's 360-200-7521. And for those who have not already enrolled or subscribed to the Brilliance in Commerce newsletter, at the top of the website, please click on Newsletter Sign Up. My name is Tansen Fairmont. I'm the founder, member of the Board of Advisors of Monaco Management Group. I've been a speaker on many radio shows and conference calls, and I'm the author of Sovereignty, Consciousness, and the forthcoming Cosmic Renaissance. International natural law trusts are international because they are not subject to the jurisdiction of any one government or locality. Only the actions of its officers may be, in certain occasions, subjected with limited jurisdiction for specific purposes, but the trust itself has never been and never will be subject for its validity or its operation to any jurisdiction, and that's why we call it sovereign, we call it international, and it is natural law because it adheres a little more closely to those laws, those principles that govern the universe than even common law, which is the human-made version of the compliance that most similar and many times inferior trusts have been designed. We like to think that our natural law trust has taken common law trust, raised it to a new level of perfection and refinement, simplicity, politeness, and strength. With no failures, 100% success rate, never been penetrated, never been invalidated in over 3 decades of our experience, and perhaps more decades of those people who were our mentors. It's the best kept secret of the super rich, like the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Mellons, Carnegies, Hunt brothers, Kennedys. These families have used what used to be called the Massachusetts Trust, various versions and variations of the common law pure Colato, the common law pure trust organization or trust contract organization, based internationally, both domiciled in foreign countries as well as United States, and operated anywhere with banking, with brokerage accounts, with a tax ID number derived from the tax agency, but not for filing tax returns because it has no tax filing requirements. So it's been a quiet thing. It's not been a secret, but it has been quiet, and it's been enjoyed quietly by many hundreds of thousands of people worldwide for decades and generations. Today is our topic of the natural law trust as it relates to the global currency reset. And the first thing I wanted to go into is just to review the rise of consciousness. Here you see the map of consciousness as given by Dr. David Hawkins. And here he's created a scale of 1 to 1,000. Some of you may have seen this before, where evolving consciousness at its lower levels has the negative emotions of grief, apathy, guilt, and shame, fear, desire, and anger, and pride, all below 200. And he was saying that collective research has shown that the average consciousness of the entire collective global population of the Earth was below 200 until about the year 1987. 1987 is when the harmonic convergence happened. 1988 was when Maharishi inaugurated a lot of his world peace projects. A lot of breakthroughs were achieved around that time. 1990, we had the end of the Cold War and the Iron Curtain and the division between Germany, East and West, and so many other things that had been subject to that low period of consciousness, that low scale of consciousness. So we started seeing the evidence of the rise of consciousness to the higher levels. And then we have neutrality, courage, willingness, acceptance, reason, love. In the 500s, joy at 540, peace 600, enlightenment beginning at 700 and going up to 1,000. Within David's logarithmic scale, 1,000 representing the highest consciousness that can be withstood in a human body. And the consciousnesses beyond that being in the higher dimensions. This is a kind of a nice table showing how there is an evolutionary process. Those of you who have been watching the rise of consciousness on the planet since then have noticed there have been ongoing evidences of a continuing acceleration of the rise of the entire collective. We talk about this because a currency reset, meaning an entire release of prosperity to the world, depends upon something more fundamental, and that is the baseline spiritual consciousness of the entire population. That's why it's been taking so long, but fortunately it is speeding up. Here we have the mandala of the curve of developing consciousness, and you can see here that in quadrant 1 is the beginning of a soul's evolution out of the great central sun, out of the pure being, out of the I am presence. And that soul descends down through the circles towards the periphery of matter. And as that soul descends, it is limited in its perception. It no longer perceives source. It no longer can remember or feel or connect with its its roots in source. It's not that it is disconnected, it's just that it is not cognizant or doesn't feel it, doesn't see it anymore. And that's why the lines are rather short. In the lower left there, you see quadrant 1, where it's first coming out of the center. You see that the lines are very short around the spiral. The spiral moves on out all the way up to the top at 2, which is the second quadrant, where the soul has finally arrived at the grossest density in creation, third density, where we are here on planet Earth on the physical plane. And you see that the lines going inward don't go very far. Now, when you move over into the third quadrant, you see that the inward moving lines go higher and higher and higher. They go all the way in, almost to the center. They start penetrating into the central circle, the source, the awareness of one's roots, awareness of one's high self. The ones who are arriving around in the third quadrant are those who are beginning to awaken again. They have their feet on the ground, and they have their consciousness awakening to the sky, awakening to the infinite, awakening to the divine, the cosmic. Now you move over into the fourth quadrant, and there you see the lines moving all the way in a rather stabilized way and connecting completely all the way back to source. So this mandala shows a very nice scale chart showing the evolution of consciousness. And I would say, based on my estimates, that most of mankind is still in quadrant 2, with many more moving over into 3, and a very few, over into 4. And the more all of mankind moves into 2, 3, and 4, the higher the entire awakening of the planet moves, the more into integrity. We see people moving above 200 in this Hawkins scale. The closer to the 4, 5, and 600s that he has in this scale, the more you see an evolution of integrity, of peace, of harmony, of coherence, of good sense, and that translates into government, it translates into economics, it translates into banking, business, medicine, education, media, everything. And that is why those who are following the Reset News see that all of these things are indeed moving ahead. I want to introduce Randall. You've probably gotten to know our wonderful partner, the head of our Brilliance and Commerce Trust Department. Those who are new to our program, welcome. And yes, Randall is indeed quite an expert in this natural laws trust field, has been the founder of House of Freedom Trusts, White Light Unlimited, the One People's Public Trust trustee, and creator of International Natural Law Trusts, and our speaker here in these Natural Law Trust webinars. I won't say a whole lot about the global currency reset other than Randall has had a lot of questions given to him. That's why we decided to devote today's webinar to this. Randall has been providing trust to those who are preparing for the reset by investing in those currencies that are most undervalued and expecting that those currencies purchased for a few $100s, a few $1,000s will be suddenly revalued at the millions of dollars and the billions of dollars at any time. We've been following this news, at least I've been following it since 2010. So we've been watching the news on how it's supposed to be happening every week for the last 8 years, and it's getting closer and closer and closer, with news coming in from people giving us news all over the world on the inside track, but yet we're still not going to give you what we think would be a when. The big multi-billion, trillion, quadrillion dollar question of when is known only to the universal intelligence. Nevertheless, we do have a lot to share in this regard, and let's go ahead with today's webinar. Randall, you are unmuted, and if you want to go ahead and make your video visible, we will watch you today. There you are.
Here I am. And this is really auspicious, Tanzan. I had no idea you were going to flash that particular screen. Um, I'm looking directly from my computer over to it glows in the nighttime, but it's a screenshot of the celestial universe, and it is strikingly real.
Randall,
Yes.
we don't hear you. I'm sorry, you'll have to start over again. I got a notice on the chat that, okay.
Hold on. Is that any better? My mute button goes up and down.
Okay. People are saying they hear you. All right, go ahead.
Okay, fine. So anyway, the auspiciousness of your slide was particularly poignant because I'm looking at this thing on the wall that my great-granddaughter bought, and it's a night glow of the celestial universe in a 360 degree. And when you shut the lights off at night, this thing glows in the dark. It's really quite striking. So I do a lot of meditation in here because the energy is so impactful. And then on the other wall is a picture that my beloved wife painted, and it's the inner workings of the sun. So it's like we've got it all here. I'm surrounded by it. And so that's what got me all jazzed up for when I saw your slide. I went, oh, I know this slide. I know how this thing works. It's really, it's very, very poignant, and it's poignant what we're all doing. We're all involved with um, trust, and for those of you who are just waiting for the RV, then that's okay too. But what I'm going to talk about today, to expand on that, is that uh, the trust that you're getting doesn't have to just be used for the reval. In other words, it's multifunctional. And I have a substantial number of clients who basically just use it for their RV, but then I have a lot of clients that say, heck no, uh, I have a successful business. It's in an LLC or something similar, and how can I transform it into just into the trust, bringing it into the trust. So the easy part of that is that if you, especially with an LLC, or if you have a C corp or whatever, you're going to take and you're going to make the trust a partner or a member or an associate of whatever this business is that you're doing. And so what it will do is will release the burden of that whatever entity you're using now, and put it into the trust, and then the trust can deal with it on that level. It's a very different level. So what happens, what those two things are doing is, one is it's taking um, the I use the analogy I use is a storefront and a back door, and you have your supplies and your necessary items in the back part, the back office. And then in your front office or your storefront, that's where you have what's on the shelf for sale. And so the LLC, let's use this example. The LLC, you have a successful LLC business going, but you want to take the tax burden off of the LLC and or whoever else owns it. And so the LLC can include, or it can sell to the House of Freedom Trust, it can sell a portion, a percentage of that business to the trust. Now that's entirely up to you to differentiate or to delineate how you would like to have that percentage marked out. It can be anywhere from 1% to 90%. Now, most accountants that I work with, they want they say, well, they say the IRS wants this, although we know that the IRS is now closed down because you can't go online and get an EIN number online anymore because our infamous, beautiful president from wherever he's from has closed down the government. And so I'm not going to go into that situation, obviously. But you can't. So right now, IRS is shut down. Whether you're going to be able to file a tax return or not is up to you. That's always up to you anyway. And we have two very viable sources of how to say no to the IRS. It's really easy. We have really good people. I've talked to them personally, and I highly recommend them. I've already sent clients to them directly. So it's very, very it's a very, very changing process that we're coming into. Now, I can't see myself on the screen right now, so I don't know, can everybody see my face or some part of my body?
Yes, you're very beautifully visible, Randall.
Okay, fine. All right. Well, that's a matter of conjecture, obviously, but all right, so that's all I care about. All right, now we're back on the potential of the RV. All right, so um, rhetorical question is, how much or do you have foreign currency, and how are you going to deal with it? Some of you are in a group. Some of you are waiting for an 800 number phone call to tell you to go somewhere to take your currencies, and you'll get the return on your investment. Now, that percentage, those percentages and the variables obviously are going to change whether you're on your own or when you're with a group. If you're with a group, obviously, I have suspicion, or I would consider the fact that the group rate will be different than the individual rate. And I don't know because I won't listen to any of the rumors out there. So I mostly am only getting feedback from my clients who say, it's happening yesterday. Where's my trust? So I have to say, okay, you're in line. I've got you on the list. We're working on it. Get it to you as soon as possible. But it didn't happen yesterday. And so don't panic. Just hang in there. Like anything, hang in with life. You can't just say, well, I wish my life would happen faster. And then you all of a sudden shake your head and go, no, it's fast enough as it is. I know mine is. The days are long, but the years are short. All right, so now what's going to happen is in the beginning, you bought it on your own. Most of you have bought currency on your own from somebody, and hopefully that somebody has given you a receipt and a verification that it is indeed a valid currency. In other words, there's a lot of bogus stuff out there, and be really careful to check that you have a current receipt and you have a current evaluation, an evaluation that is indeed a valid currency. So that's what you want. So by having it taken out of your hands, you assign it when you have a trust, you assign the currency to the trust, name of the trust, and then you and the trustees will sign it, and then that's the only piece of paper in the whole document that you need to have notarized is the assignment of foreign currency. Because what we want and what you are really going to need is to have a date stamped document that says on January 9th or January 10th is that you went to a notary and you told the notary the schedule is in your trust if you have one. If you don't have one, then as soon as you're ready, we'll get you one of those assignments. And then you will go to them and you'll say, okay, now I'm assigning this. And there's a note. Don't let the notary say, well, I need to see the whole document. And just say, no, I'm sorry, the document's private. You're only here to notarize my signature. And so that's what you want to have in your mind, a clear symbol that you're not there to rectify or to even try to validate the document you have. All you're there for is for them to notarize your signature. And so your signature will be on this addendum Schedule A. Now, some of you are going to be trustees, some of you are going to be grantors, some of you will be giving funds, assigning funds to the trust. Any money that goes in to the trust, whoever gives it needs to have their signature validated or notarized, so that there's no confusion when you go to the line, wherever you go, or whatever happens to happen for you, is you want that to be valid. Massachusetts? Who's from Massachusetts? Anyway, out of Massachusetts back into Hawaii, what we're going to do is we're going to validate the fact that there's an assignment from the your personal pocket to the trust. And then when you go, wherever you go, whether if you're in a group or if you're on your own, you're going to walk in and um, I don't know for sure, but I have a really strong feeling that if you uh, go to wherever you're going to go, whether you go to the group or you go to the bank, is when you walk in with what you have, is you're going to ask to talk to the manager or the wealth manager, and you're going to say, I have so many I have so many of these, so much of this currency and so much of that, and it's all notarized, and um, I'm looking for you to translate it for me into hopefully not US dollars, but US Treasury dollars, which is different than um, the banknotes that are issued by the fake Federal Reserve, phony Federal Reserve. Fake, phony Federal Reserve. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so then you'll come out of there and you'll be treated in a um, very different attitude. You're not going to be a retail customer working on the ground floor anymore. You're going to be up in the private sector of the bank, and they're going to welcome you and say, how can we serve you? And they're going to want your business because they want you to keep your money in their bank. So that's something to uh, make notes about and think about whether you want to stay. I don't know, what bank you'll be called to, but there's going to be a lot of options have come out. There's have at least three projects for private banking, um, and once that goes through, then you'll be able to operate. And my feeling is that sooner than later, everything is going to be online. So you won't ever have to go to the bank again. You can um, you can do all your banking business online. You can have money withdraw from the local, you go to a local bank and withdraw money from the chute, or you just have a checkbook and a credit card from this company that is pretty much unlimited. So that's going to be the first step. So the first step basically is to take your currency and get addendum A. If you have a trust, make sure your addendum A, schedule addendum A has assigned the currency. You have assigned the currency from you to the trust, and it's notarized. And that's step one. Then you have the trust has clear title to your currency. Then when you get the call and you say, Mr. Smith, welcome very much, and please show up at such and such a bank, and we're going to treat you very well if you come here. And that's the basis of that. Okay, can I have my slide back? Please, Mr. Bill, please. No, Mr. Bill, don't do it. Okay, so yeah.
Which one do you want?
Oh, this one's good. We'll move on. I think we covered this. You can go to the next one. Okay, so if you take it, see, this is the whole issue, is if you take your RV money and you have it personally, say it's in your pocket, you own it, you have all the receipts are all in your name. Um, you might have bundles, you might have a backpack full of this currency, and you're going to walk out probably, I mean, hopefully the bank will, for the significant moment, will put that in a holding account for you. They give you a safekeeping receipt or whatever. Let's say you're not particularly ready to work with this particular bank. You may want to, you may not. It depends. That's totally up to you. If you have a really good um, um, wealth manager at the bank you're at, and you have a good relationship, then you might want to consider staying there for a period of time and let him tell you what he and his bank, he or she, and that bank can do for you, because it might be very generous. If it's a small bank, then they might not be able to do a lot, and but they will hold on to it, and they will give you a safekeeping receipt, and then you can go looking for a bank that has it's more worldwide, et cetera, et cetera. Like we said earlier, I know there's going to be at least three, possibly more, private banks that will open. And when that private banking system opens, um, it's going to blow the doors off of regular banking. So, I want you to look at that potential or that possibility. So for right now, we've got to wait until they say, "Bong, come and collect your new possibilities." Okay, so what happens is when you put it in trust, not only you're not carrying it in your wallet, but you're basically, if you have it in your own wallet, then you're going to get hit with a serious tax liability. I mean, I don't know. Um, Rumors are flying that the IRS won't be around. And I know they're not around today because nobody's been able, because the government shut down. And I'm just going to leave it there. The government shut down. There's no IRS. You can't get an EIN number. So that's going to be a situation that will have to be addressed. And I think I talked to a client this morning and I said, go into the bank and say, I'd like to open up an account. I have a trust. I can't get, the IRS is closed. And I need to at least be able to open this account. I don't want to hold it all. Now, whether they'll do that for you, I don't know. Maybe the banks are closed today. I don't know. I haven't been by any bank, so I don't really know. I know the government shut down, or at least the federal government shut down. The state is happening. Hawaii, at least, is still happening. It's open, but the rest I don't know about. I'm not a fan of the news because it's so negative most of the time. So, all right, so we've taken it from your personal pocket and we've put it in the pocket of the natural law trust, which avoids or eliminates even any kind of tax liability. So we'll address that in future presentations, but for right now, we're just going to leave it there. We're going to say, okay, so for right now, the tax liability is significantly reduced, if not eliminated. Okay, so the reason is because, hold on one second. There's no requirement. There's no requirement. All the work that I've been doing for 40 years is that there's no requirement. There's nothing that the IRS can prove that says that you're required to file a tax return. Now, I'm not here to start a tax revolt, and I don't want to discuss any of that stuff here in public. And if you want to deal with that, then we'd set up a private consultation and go from there. But I would rather turn that particular aspect onto somebody else. And if you want that aspect, then you just need to email me and say, who do I get a hold of? Beautiful person, and I definitely recommend his stuff. So there you go. You're not, even though when you go and get an EIN number for a trust or for anything, it says you are required to file well, for a person it would be a 1040. For a trust it's a 1041. But it says, it doesn't say, there's no signature, there's no blue ink, and there's no signature at the bottom that says, oh, under penalties of perjury, I hereby tell you that you must file this requirement. It's just not true because it doesn't exist. There is no, it's, what do they call it? Oh, we called it voluntary compliance. That's all it is. It's voluntary compliance. You have volunteered to comply with the request that the IRS has asked you for a trust, for a tax return.
Well, and they're talking about a statutory trust too.
Yeah, of course. Any trust, anything. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if, well, if it's an entity that's created by the state, then yes, you probably have to do that. If you work for the government, you'll have to file a tax return. If you work, if you have an LLC or if you have a corporation, yes, you're right, Tanzan. Thank you for that correction. You will be required to file a return. But if you're not, then you're not. So next slide. Let's move on. Okay, so here's the confusing issue is people say, well, I want to put my car in the trust and I want to do this. And I say, wait, first of all, you never put anything that can create a liability in with your assets. So the worst thing you can do is put a car into the trust with your significant amount of assets. That will eliminate all those assets that you just, garnered into your portfolio. So never put a car into a trust or a plane or a boat or anything that can harm anybody. If you bring injury to anybody, then that person who injures can be sued. And so the same with a trust. That's why you, if the trust buys a house, then you as manager and or trustee are responsible to make sure that that house is well kept and insured and kept to a state where it's safe worthy. So that's where that goes. So that's how you separate your assets from your liabilities. Okay, you're going to either be the manager or a trustee or beneficiary. Now, I have a lot of folks that are in a quandary about whether they should be the um, the grantor or to be a trustee or just to be the beneficiary. It's totally up to you. When I began to do this 40 years ago, my mentor was older and he worked with an older generation. And most of these uh, folks in the older generation, they had a substantial portfolio and they didn't want to do any work anymore. So they came to us and they said, we'd like to set this up so that these trustees will be the manager and we can cut checks to ourselves or whatever we have to do, which was really fine in those days. And then the bank in the last 10 years or so got really skittish. And so unless you're a trustee, they won't, most banks won't let you sign as a signature on the account. So you have to kind of make a decision as to whether you want to be a manager and a trustee or just to be a beneficiary. I will help you deal with that easily. You'll be able to choose what you'd like to be. Is there a way to scroll this slide up a little bit?
I don't really know how at this point. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I'm going to fake it. All right.
Okay.
You'll either be manager or trustee or beneficiary. Trust can pay salaries and make acquisitions for its officers. I don't know what more is on there, but that's probably good enough to take us where we want. And
yeah, that's all the text.
okay. So a lot of you have wanted to be trustee because you wanted to have more control over how it's taken care of. And that's fine. We'll make you the trustee. You just can't be the sole trustee and the sole beneficiary. So, in other words, I had a client come to me and he was going to set up a trust for his grandson. And he could be the grantor and he could be the sole trustee because his grandchildren were the beneficiaries. So in other words, that gave enough separation so that it was an equitable situation for that family situation. So you can have two hats, but you can't have three. So you can be the grantor and a trustee as long as you're not a beneficiary or the sole beneficiary. And or you can be a trustee you'd have to have a non-related second trustee, and then you could be one of the beneficiaries. But again, I'm recommending that you have a second beneficiary. Just I want you to um, get in your head that you want to separate as much as possible. You want to separate these assets from ownership. And the more you do that, then the safer you are. And the trust can pay managerial fees, can pay trustee fees, it can pay uh, as long as the trust, if the trust is granted or assigned, if the house is assigned into the trust, then the trust will pay the mortgage, it'll pay taxes, it'll pay property taxes, it'll pay for upkeep and all of that. So it can all be taken out of the trust account. Just do really good bookkeeping and don't commingle. In other words, don't use trust money to go down to Wally Mart and buy yourself, a set of clothes just for the sake of it. Just don't do it. Pay yourself a small salary and then go down to Wally Mart and buy your clothes that way. So I want you to keep that separation in mind. That's the most important part of it, is to keep that separation between the asset and the purchase. Okay, slide. Okay, so one of the things that happens also is that with a trust, a lot more potential exists with trust, because savvy trust people, savvy financial people, they understand the use of trust, whether it's statutory or not. It's none of their business. Fact is, they will deal with the trust as it is, and they take it in, and then the money manager will sit with you and like a wealth manager, and he'll say, well, we have this and this and these and these, and then he'll say, okay, I'll take a look at that, and then I'll come back and I'll give you an answer, and he'll go from there. Can be anything you want to invest in. Also, the privacy is really critical. First is that anybody involved with a trust can be fined for $250,000 if you choose to do that, if they allow information from the trust out to the public. So anybody that's stepping into the role of a trustee or a manager needs to be aware that this is a private process and not to go blabbing to the neighbor. It's just like when you start on the RV, one of the first things they do is they have you sign a non-disclosure. And that's I think any important business aspect that you go into, especially high-tech stuff, is that you need to sign a non-disclosure so that if anything gets out, you could be on the hook. So this is all private. You want to keep it private. And they're not recorded. I had a client email me the other day, where do I file this? Where am I going to record this? And I say, no, you don't record it and you don't file it anywhere. The only thing that you would do is if you transfer property from your name into the trust, then you have to record that deed transfer with the county. But that's as far as it's going to go. And the county, of course, keeps all of its process private as well. So that's where you want to make sure that that's the only place it's recorded. There's no need to record it or file it anywhere else. And trustees sign for the trust. Okay, so the trustees take on a significant trying to find the right word, that it's not that you're required, but you're under a fiduciary responsibility to keep the financial aspect of the trust private. That's the word I was looking for. So financial fiduciary responsibility. And if you hold to that, talk to, somebody says, hey, I heard you're a trustee. You say, can't talk about it. And then you're fine, because otherwise you're on the hook. You've signed basically a non-disclosure. In the trust document itself, there is a paragraph that says if any of the trustees or people involved with this trust let this information out, then they're responsible. Okay, if that's the last line, then we can go on. Okay, so natural law trusts protect your investments more effectively. It's because one is a privacy, one is a fiduciary responsibility on the trustees, and two is it's going to not go anywhere as long as everybody's working in integrity. You just keep it as it should be. Now, in the future, children or other family members can be successor trustees. In other words, trustees will change periodically. Some people will be incapacitated, some people will pass on, and some people will just get tired of being a trustee and say, I want to go play golf. So in that case, you have a successor trustee. They can be appointed now. They're not really going to do anything because they only take effect when something happens to the primary trustee. And then they would have to step up. However, in the meantime, it's your job, if you're the trustee, to start training this young person to be in a position of being a very successful successor trustee. And I have a couple of books. I have a bibliography. I'm going to, I think next month, I'm going to take a few quotes out of the book and relay them to you. And Tansen, did we ever do a bibliography for your webpage?
We had the bibliography emailed in newsletters, and I don't think we've posted on the website. We should, yes. Okay. And also, I recommended putting it in the manual.
Right. Okay. So, but you have it. You have it accessible. I can send it again if you need.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll send you another copy. But I think it would be really good. There's two books in particular that are intriguing. And of course, for those of you who really like to read for 8 hours at night, because you can't sleep, I have some great law books that you would enjoy immensely. But we'll make sure that all that information is out there. There's really good information. It's called Passing the Buck is the first set of books. It's quite, actually, it is more intricate now that I think about it. And there's a couple more, and then there's one law book that I use specifically, and I can go to and typically find the answer I'm looking for without a whole bunch of pulling my hair out, which I don't have much left. But that's about it. Okay, so the whole thing is you're trying to pass your estate to your children, but in order for it not to be squandered, you need to train. What's that old song? Teach your children. You need to teach your children how to be a trustee, and it's not difficult if it's started early on. And in other words, as you make decisions within the trust work, you decide, well, talk to your dad, and we're going to thinking about doing this, and we need to do it this way, and you want to see how it's done. And then they will watch as you put that play together, and then you do it, and they see, and they get a gist of it. That's all they need. And then you just keep doing it, and all of a sudden, they're able, they get to an age where they can take those law books and they can look at them and say, hey, this is pretty neat stuff. This is stuff I can use into the future for more than a number of things. And it's like, own nothing and control everything. And the idea is to release the burden of ownership to somebody else, or that can be carried by 2 or 3 people, because you can have more than 2 trustees if you choose. You can have 2 or 3 or 4 trustees. Some bigger businesses may want to have 4 or 5. You always want an odd number, so there's a majority, that can say swing vote here, and it all works, especially if everybody is understanding and has read the trust manual and the trust document. And see, I have a number of clients that call and they have these questions, and I say, well, on section 13, you say this, what does that mean? I say, well, have you read it? Have you read the paraphrase above it and the paraphrase below it? And have you read the trustees manual? And do you understand the basic premise of it? Because it's really simple. I mean, it's just like it's a one-word answer to their question, but they didn't take the time to really look at it. So I have to remind them gently to go back, look at the trust, read the trust again, read the trust manual, be aware, see how it goes. That's it. Okay, so if that's the last slide, we can go to questions if you want.
All right, everyone. I think, what was it, *9 for those on the telephone, and also for those on the video, you have the raise hand icon to click on. We also have a number of questions in chat. I want to thank everyone who have been answering on the chat the questions some others have been putting out. Thank you very kindly.
Cool. Very good.
Your audience is doing some of your work for you.
Yeah, I'm really glad about that.
Yes, there is a recording being made. Yes, it will be posted on YouTube. Thank you, Peter, for posting the brilliance-videos.com link for that. Let's see. We have, can an S Corp also go into the trust or only LLCs?
Well, what you would do, I would have you consider selling S Corp stock to the trust, or assigning it, or giving it, or gifting it, or whatever, however it works tax-wise. You might want to check with your tax advisor about if it's an S Corp, it's typically owned by a person or two people, and that could easily be assigned to the trust. So the trust would now have the ownership of whatever percentage that you've decided to give, or to give off yourself and give to the trust.
Right.
And I think the same would go to stock. You know, if you had a regular C Corp, then you could either gift or sell that C Corp stock to the trust. An LLC, the trust becomes a member of the LLC on the percentage that you would like to have.
Here's kind of an odd question. Can the notary be one of the trustees or secondary trustee? And I guess it would depend on your relationship with them, huh?
Yeah, sure. Notary could be a trustee. He has two hats. He has a notary hat and he has a trustee hat. As long as he doesn't mix them up, he's okay.
Mm-hmm. You'd kind of want to know the person, probably.
Yeah, I wouldn't just hire a notary off the street just because he's a notary, and you don't need a notary other than to notarize their signature. So unless you want him to be intimately involved with your business, then I would say think twice about it.
Yeah. Okay, we have area code 775. You have been unmuted, and would you like to state your question and your first name?
Yes, my name's Tricia.
Hi, Tricia.
And I just appreciate what you folks are doing so much, and
Thank
what
you.
we have the opportunity to participate in doing as far as raising consciousness for everyone's best benefit.
Where are you from?
I live upon Nevada in this particular point in time.
Nevada?
Yes, that's correct.
Sunshine, lots of sunshine.
Yes, that, by the way, is the name of one of our trusts. So anyway, I wanted to ask, because it was some time ago that we did a gift letter for our currency to a trust. And in lieu of a notary, we did two witnesses. And it's my understanding that in law that two witnesses certainly can take the place of a notary. And I just wanted to confirm that with you, because I know you were talking about a notary earlier.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, good. And they are dated, of course. And then the other thing I wanted to just get some feedback on regarding exchange into whatever temporary account it might be. It's my understanding that if you have a special type account, and I think it's called, I can't remember what the word for it is right now, but it's like they're holding the funds in trust. And you do not receive interest from the financial institution, then that's going to make it easier for you to transfer the funds out into one of these private banking projects that might be preferable at some point in time. Is that correct? Because by accepting...
I would make sure that the bank promises to release those funds whenever you have a demand for it. So they can hold it and not have to pay you interest, but they have to promise. You have to have them promise. I would have them sign a document stating that upon request you have full access to your funds.
Okay, very good. So go even further. See, it's my understanding that if you enter into contract with a bank whereby they're paying you interest, you've become part of their conglomeration, so to speak. So by keeping it a no interest account, that keeps you out of that status. And that you're suggesting that in addition to that, you have them sign that you can have full access to your funds upon request.
Yes.
Okay, great. That's very good.
Yes, I had a woman client that ran into a wall, and they closed her account and they kept her money because she wasn't clear in the beginning, what she wanted from them. So, and I don't know the whole story and I don't want to get involved with it. So I'm just saying, just make sure that when you go to the bank, you're really clear with the manager, the wealth manager, whoever you talk to, that if I put my funds here and it's a non-interest bearing account, that when I want to withdraw it, it comes out with no hassle.
Right. And so if you're that clear with them and have that discussion and you get a signature of one of the bank officers, that should carry weight, is the idea.
Yes.
Thank you. That is very helpful, and I think not just for me, but for many other people.
Sure. You're welcome.
Thank you, Tricia.
Thank you.
Okay. Next we have Carlos in Florida. I'm going to unmute you. You are on the air.
Hey, Tenson. Hey, Randall.
Carlos. Aloha.
Yes. ¿Cómo está?
Yeah. Bien.
Oh, very good. Okay, so I came into enlightenment back in 2012. I seen the Saint Germain video documentary. Came into enlightenment since then. So to this day, I'm still practicing.
Cool.
I'm sorry.
How does it feel to be enlightened?
Oh, enlightened. Very. So this is kind of like
popsicles still taste the same?
Oh, different, completely different. The sky is blue. The grass is greener.
Okay.
This is kind of piggybacking off of Trisha's question with the notary and the two witnesses. So pretty much after that is done, does that make it official? Like the trust? Like, is that the stamp that makes
that addendum A is for foreign currency only, and it has nothing really. It's just part of the trust. But what makes the trust work or become operative or active is when there's 36 or 40 pages, depending on what you've asked me to include in the paperwork. And when everybody signs, especially when the first part of the trust indenture, it's called, that first part, when that's signed by the grantor, whether it's a nominee grantor or you as grantor, that's when it basically becomes active and official.
Got it. Okay. All right. That makes sense.
And it doesn't mean that you have to go and open up a bank account. By all means, it can just hold, it could basically hold a stick for 20 years, but it would still be active. This trust holds this stick, and it's for my great-great-grandchild, and that's how it goes.
Understood. Okay. Now, after purchasing the service from you, is it going to be like an ongoing training? What we're doing now, the monthly?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to do one-on-one basically for most people. Most of my clients, I work one-to-one. And so it's specifically geared to you.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Carlos. Okay, next we have Unagaya. You are unmuted. You're on the air.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I felt like I didn't know what was going on. Hello, everybody, and thank you both for hosting this. This is very awesome information. I am very curious about having the S Corp or the LLC. If you could just expound a little bit more on that, and I'm very interested in becoming a trainee or client, or however you want to put that. But if you could just talk about it for a moment, what I thought I heard you say was that with an LLC or an S Corp, I can gift the assets of that company or business to the trust, and then the trust can pay people. Is that true? Kind of?
Yes, but I want you to change the wording.
Okay.
And I want you to see that you are not gifting the trust. You are assigning the trust this particular foreign currency or whatever else
It's
you might be.
exchange.
I'm sorry?
Exchange is what you call it.
I say assign, but
Yeah.
it's not really an exchange. It's an assignment because if you exchange it, then you're going to get something in exchange for that gift. But if you're assigning it, it may be that there's other beneficiaries that are going to receive the benefit of that gift. So I would use the word assign. I like that. That fits my terminology better.
Okay.
So you assign your currency, or you assign your personal effects, or property, or whatever, and then in exchange, I guess, this is where the wordplay comes in. In exchange for that, if you're doing it yourself, then you are going to get units of beneficial interest, which is interest from the trust for you for the value of what you assigned or exchanged into the trust.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. And the one more question on the banks. I know you were going into that, the holding of funds and the no interest bearing account and things like that. But you did mention something about treasury notes. Is that was a separate deal?
Well, the treasury note, yes. That's contingent upon the RV happening. Right now, we have U.S. and it's just a fake dollar by the Federal Reserve. They're just banknotes. They're not worth anything, but they do buy your bread and water. So you can't really, disparage it to any extent. But it's really not real. And what we're hoping, or what we're looking for with the reevaluation, is that the money system will change. We don't know to what extent yet, but hopefully it'll go to a gold-backed dollar, a treasury note. It'd be a treasury note rather than a bank note. Right now, the Federal Reserve Bank in New York controls all of the money. But if the RV happens and treasury notes happen, then it'll be real treasury notes that come from the U.S. Treasury and not from a bank.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Could be very different. Could be a very different social structure that we might possibly see in the future, which I'm very much looking forward to.
Wow. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Anagaya. So we have the question, what is RV definition, please? And I think most of the listeners today know what that is, pretty much. So I won't spend much time on it, but Randall, you've said some good things. I'll just add that there are countries that were invaded in war, Iraq and Vietnam. Their currencies were worth quite a lot. I think the Iraqi dinar was worth about $3.40 per dollar, one Iraqi dinar, because of all the oil in the country. When they went in and invaded it, they reduced the value down to a few pennies. Same in Vietnam, Zimbabwe. These are three of the most undervalued. And those who are buying those currencies at pennies on the dollar expect when they do revalue, they will have suddenly millions of dollars worth of value, or billions of dollars. And so there's been this big worldwide movement with as many as we estimate 20 million people worldwide in the past 10 years buying these currencies and expecting a revaluation. At the same time, there's this rise in global consciousness. There's the rise of Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies. There's the Basel III mandate out of Basel, Switzerland. And Randall, you visited there and filed the foreclosure papers. and I think it had some effect. So Basel III basically mandates that the world move from a debt-based money system to an asset-based money system. It's a historic thing that's going on. We're coming out of thousands of years of dark ages. But in ancient times, in golden ages, the civilizations that lasted the longest were those that had, if they had any money system at all, they had stable currencies backed by something that everybody agreed on was of great value, such as gold. And they lasted for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years with stability and prosperity and peace. So that's the movement mandated by Basel III to create a new global system where all currencies are accurately reflecting their country's resources. And there is talk of the quantum global financial system coming forward with supercomputers and an evaluation all the way down to the individual in real time. So there's all kinds of ideas being floated. Most people agree the old system needs to be replaced. There is disagreement on what it should be replaced with. That's what's been taking so long. Meanwhile, awareness keeps rising, and there is a consensus that there is the removal of those who are the parasites on the people from the old system, disempowering them, removing them, arresting them, and then a new system coming forward that will either be crypto, it will be gold, it will be oil, or it will be something quantum. We will see what it becomes. But it's going to be equitable, it will be prosperous, it will be abundant, and it will give everyone an equal opportunity to have great wealth. Meanwhile, the trust has been something that everyone has coming to with these currencies, saying now, if a trust is recommended for the administration of this wealth, however it comes, how do we do that? And we've been providing the reasons and the methods. And one of the reasons is, should there be a continuation of individual income tax assessment, that's not expected. It's not supposed to happen. But should it continue, it would be impossible to assess a capital gains tax on the revaluation of a currency in a natural law trust because there's no filing requirement. And the revaluation would have taken place in an exempt entity or an entity that's an exception to the filing requirements if the currency was assigned to it. I was using exchange, but I see your point, assigned to it prior to the RV. In the chat, quick question. Since there is an EIN number assigned to the trust, doesn't it mean the trust is also registered? And that was from Ive. And then James was very kind to answer, the EIN is only for banking, no need to record with the courts. Randall, is that sufficient, or you want to say more?
Require some kind of number, and you can't, you know, you got to tell the truth about it. So you just file, and when you file, it's online, takes about 10 minutes, although IRS is shut down right now, so you're not going to get anything anyway. But that's all you really need, and it is just for the bank, just to open up an account. Actually, I had a client in England, and I said, do you need to get an EIN number for over there? And she said, no, all I have to do is walk in with my license and passport, and I can open up an account, no problem.
And then Sue asks, in Australia, foreign people, trusts, companies, etc., can't buy property unless it is a new build. Is there a way to use a natural law trust to buy property to keep individual names out of it?
I didn't quite get what the question was on that. I mean, somebody's name's going to go on the title change and the exchange of the title. So it'd probably be a trustee. Now, whether both trustees have to sign, I don't know, but it depends on the bank. But typically, you're going to need at least one trustee's signature.
We're not experts on every aspect of Australian law, but I would suspect that that would only apply to statutory entities in Australia, because the natural law trust has the right to conduct business and purchase things anywhere in the world.
Yes, and again, it goes back to the particular bank and whether they are really, again, what's your relationship with your banker? If you have a good relationship with your banker, then they're probably going to be fine. If you don't, then you may have to do some explaining, and you'll have to, you know, call me and have some better understanding of how to do that. Again, it depends on the bank. I've had banks, you walk in, yes, no problem, open it right up, and others go, sorry, we don't want to deal with these, and so you leave it alone, go somewhere else.
And I tell everybody I've had it vary from branch to branch.
Yep.
Where Wells Fargo one branch said no, and I went down the street to a different one, and they said yes.
Yeah, no problem. I know I had to coordinate. One time I have a client, and he was in California, and his trustee was in Virginia, and we had to coordinate the banks. This is Wells Fargo Bank. They wanted to have both people signing at the same time. And I said, well, how can you do that? One lives in Virginia and one lives in the West Coast. So what they did is they made the guy show up at the bank at 9 o'clock in California, and the guy in Virginia was like 3 o'clock, I guess, in the afternoon. And they walked in and they connected up on a phone call, and the two managers put the signature cards in front of them, and they signed it there. And so then the bank took the signature cards and they put them together, and they sent them so that each bank had a copy of that card. So it can work. You know, it just depends on how friendly your banker is and how much he wants to do business with you.
And then we have Mary asking, what law books do you recommend? Mary, earlier Randall mentioned Passing the Buck. If you get a natural law trust, you'll find the bibliography put in the manual. Is that right, Randall?
Yeah, can you take a picture of this?
Raise it up a little higher. Cases and Text on the Law of Trusts, 9th edition.
It's only 1,000 pages. It's one of my favorites. It's where I can go and pretty much get everything, but I wouldn't recommend it. The Passing the Buck is really good. It's a little expensive, but there's that. There's another one. Again, I'll do a new bibliography for you, and you can post it, and you can include it in the newsletter, but I also would have maybe a sidebar on your website for law books on trust.
And are you including it in the manual now?
I will make a note, and I will include it in the manual.
Bruce writes, I would like to know more about the Natural Law Trust. Could you direct me to more information? So let's recommend that you find whoever referred you to this webinar. Kayla Hawks Robertson is one, Sarah Mattoon, and there's also Billy Woodard. If you came through any of these people or some other affiliate, please get with that person for the web link. And we've posted a generic web link in this webinar. But we prefer that you go through the affiliate who introduced you.
Yeah.
Adrian asks, can you get a bank account without an EIN? I heard of some people getting a non-interest checking accounts without an SSN or EIN. Probably harder to get, but do you have any thoughts on that?
I'd have to know the bank and where and what her relationship with the banker would be. I used to do it all the time back in the 80s in California. It was no problem. I'd walk in, I'd open up an account. I didn't have a number on it. It didn't really matter. And now they won't even look at it unless it has a number.
By the same token, there's also been no problem getting the number.
Well, not until Mr. T shut down the government.
No, I mean, it hasn't been a problem using it to bank with the trust.
Oh, no, not at all. No, once you get the number, it's in, it's done. And you know, what the bank is going to see, what the bank also wants is when you go online and you get it, is you make a number of copies of it, and you keep one with a trust and keep one with a master, and you just have more than one, and because you won't be able to apply for it again. You'll have to, it's too much of a hassle. You don't want to do that. So just make copies and store it with the original. When you sign all of this trust paperwork, you keep the original in a safe place, put the original EIN number with it, make copies of it, and each trustee should have a copy of the trust in case something happens to you, and one extra for potential successor trustee. And then you'd be covered. And that leads me into also in the trust document, there's a whole section for notes. And it's really important that every time an action is taken by the trust, any significant action, it should be written down and signed by the trustees. And this can all be done over scan, copy, whatever, however you want to do it. And then you keep all of those papers together, because over a period of time, you're going to collect many minutes that will go to validating the efficacy of the trust document that you have put together.
EA asks, with regard to the private banks, would we deposit into the bank, then move the funds to the private bank? I do not think the bank would like that very much.
Well, that's why you have to stand up in front of the wealth manager wherever you're going to do the RV and say, I want an account and I want to be able to be assured by you with your signature that I can withdraw these funds at any time if I don't like what you're doing with my money.
And if you're talking about the initial currency exchange after the RV, it could be possible that the exchange could take place within the private bank in the first place, in which case there'd be no need to move.
Most of the understanding I have that those private banks are contingent upon the RV.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how to expand that at all. I know I have three clients that have intention to have a private bank. One has already got one. One is about ready to place a down payment on one, and I'm sure that what will happen is that when the RV happens, that you may see a lot of that. In fact, I mean, for all we know, the whole banking system may go back to private banking.
Next, Ellie asks, what if my country of residence does not have the American notary system? How do we officialize signature then?
Well, you just get two friends, you both sign in blue ink. And
As
when I was working with the trust with Heather and Caleb, we did blue ink signature and we did thumbprints. So that's as valid as anything.
It's under the common law of witnesses for a signature, yeah?
Of course.
That's everywhere in all countries.
Right, and that's my thumbprint. Nobody else has it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that'll work. Yeah, witnesses work. They oftentimes it's either a notary or two witnesses.
And then Tracy writes, I live in the UK and have had my document notarized with a solicitor that employs a notary.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever works.
Maisie writes, how does one get involved with the money management team you were involved with upon redemption?
I'm not involved with any particular wealth manager at this point.
Well, maybe she's referring to what I've been putting out from BIC.
I haven't been reading up on that. I'm trying to stay away from any of this stuff so that I can focus on my client and make sure they understand the trust. And when it all happens, then I'm sure I'll jump right in. And I have no idea what's going to be presented to me and the group that I'm involved with. So I don't know.
So Maisie, you have contact with us. I would just say write to us. If you haven't already, we'll be happy to refer you to a couple of the wealth managers that we recommend at BIC.
Yeah, I mean, you might have a longer list than I do. I don't have a list. I mean,
Well,
don't we have Mark?
yeah, Mark Emery at Lighthouse.
Okay.
That constitutes a pretty good wealth management system. And now my new associates with the billion-dollar bank instruments trading.
Oh, cool.
Then there's Monte Guild with his Guild Investment Management,
Oh, yes. Okay, I've heard of that. Yeah.
LA.
Yeah.
So there's a few. Yeah.
Well, there's plenty out there. In fact, if once this thing happens and you go to a bank that's doing the exchange, you're going to probably find a whole wall, and there's going to be lots of chairs, and there's going to be a number of gentlemen or ladies sitting behind there waiting for you to step up and say, "Oh yeah, we'd love to help you. What can we do for you?" You won't be working on the retail floor business anymore.
Yes.
You'll be kindly taken to the 13th floor. Come this way, sir. What you see, what you're going to see will astound you. Okay, what else?
This question is, who are the 2 to 4 private banks?
I don't know yet. And I knew who they are, and I can't disclose that information yet.
Okay.
There's plenty of time. Don't worry. Be happy.
Carlos writes, may I have the email to contact Randall for the trust service? And so Carlos and everyone else, if you don't already have a natural law trust, the same answer as before. Go through the affiliate who introduced you to us and purchase the trust. And at that time, then you will be given Randall's contact info, and he'd be more than happy to help you. So he only deals with trust clients, and we go through the front door by using the link of the affiliate who referred you, or if you found us anonymously on a search engine or something, then use our generic web link that was showing in this webinar. We gave it earlier. We'll show it again before we close today.
Right. I don't mind doing emails if people are just starting and they have some questions that they need to have addressed, although you cover quite a bit of information in your book. Is that correct?
Yes.
Isn't your ebook downloadable, free downloadable?
Yes, and we recommend everyone start there if you haven't already. On the website, you just go to the trust section and download the ebook. It's up to about 60 pages now. It's got pictures. It's quite entertaining, and read that over. Yeah, most of the questions are answered in there. And then we have a help desk ticket system for getting the rest of your questions answered.
Good.
This question from Bruce says, can I assign my house to the trust if the CRA of our version of IRS has claimed I owe them money in dispute and have liened my home?
Probably not, because the lien will follow the home.
Yeah.
I mean, you could, but the lien's still there. So it's kind of being risky. You're putting it out there, and what happens is, this happened to a friend of mine, is he had a lien coming down, and he took the home out of, I think it was in escrow, but he took the home out and he reassigned it to something else, or he took his money out or something. But then he waited a day too long, and they swooped in. They saw that it was just hanging out there. They swooped in and they snagged it. So he lost his home. So be really careful. I would If it's got a lien on it, I would deal with the lien. And don't you offer that service, Tanzan? Isn't one of your people into that?
Yes, we can refer you to people who help with mortgage cancellation, removal of liens, IRS liens. We have outsourced people we refer to for problems like that. But
Great.
everyone, look, this is very important. This is a perfect illustration of why earlier is better. The sooner, the better. If the person had the house in the trust before it was liened, then it would not be possible to lien for the debts or liabilities of the individual.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
the whole point of putting things into the trust as early as possible. It's asset protection.
You're right, Tanzan. You're the man of the hour.
Ellie says, how can I raise my hand? If you're viewing this on the computer, there should be an icon near the bottom, has a little picture of a hand. It's the raise hand icon.
Hey, I'm raising my hand. Yeah, I did notice it was missing today, but just ask your question.
Yeah, otherwise, if you can't find it, type it into chat. Unagaya says, please describe buying U.S. Treasury notes. Are you saying these are different currency we can purchase?
Not yet.
I think you're saying that's going to be the new money system in the United States, right?
U.S. Treasury notes will be out of the U.S. Treasury and not out of the Federal Reserve.
What John F. Kennedy started issuing, and then he got assassinated for it.
Yeah, well.
In the early 60s.
It's the risk you take, stepping up to the plate.
Yeah. I recommend everyone read The Creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin. That's the book that explains how we got the money system we have today.
Yep. It's excellent. Excellent source.
Okay, Mata asks, if distant trustees such as Monaco Management along with me, how do you manage getting signatures for bank account?
I don't know how that's set up. That would be a question, Tanzan, you'd have to chat with Mark about. How would you do that automatically?
Yeah, okay. So ask Monaco Management Services that question.
Right.
Suffice it to say, it can work. It can be done.
Sure. There may be, when I was in Hong Kong, I opened up a couple accounts there, and we use, they call them chop. It's just a chop. It's a piece of ivory that has a symbol on it that there's only two made, and you have one, and you better not lose the other one. And that's how you go into your account, and you either deposit or withdraw money from your account, and you use that little, it's only probably a 1/4 inch across, it's just really small, but it's easily, carried. And that's what you use as your signature. It's like a thumbprint. I mean, it's so bizarre, it's like in the early days, you didn't have to have a passport. You came in, you had some kind of identification, or you had a thumbprint. That's all you needed. And now it's absurd what they do. So anyway, let's go on.
Here's a good question from Mata. She says, what kind or how much information do beneficiaries get?
Beneficiaries are allowed to really to get a gist of what's happening in the trust. They don't have any power to make a decision or to dictate how it should be run, but they have a right to know, kind of what's going on with the trust. And one of the things that we have in our document is a protector's agreement. And the grantor, whoever that might be, can assign a protector, and that protector has the ability to go in and hire and fire trustees if the grantor doesn't think they're doing their job. So that's one of the protections within the trust document itself. But I've had a few people who have said, I need to replace my trustee because they want to resign or they don't want to do this anymore. And so I say, well, just find another person and appoint them as trustee and then write it into the document. You can handwrite it in. You can put a new page in off the computer. However it works for you. Doesn't matter if it's handwritten or scribbled in or lined out or whatever, as long as it's all initialed and the trustees have, initialed the bottom of the page, then you're fine.
All right, Ellie writes 2 questions. One, was a part of a group through a friend who passed on. How can I join a group today? Any recommendation you would give me in private?
You mean a group that's going to the RV?
I guess she's written in chat, and Ellie, I guess that's what you were referring to.
I would have to talk to my person first, and then I'd be happy to respond to her question. She can send me, you can give her, shut up. Go away.
You got your phone ringing. Ellie,
Sorry.
you can submit a help desk ticket on our website, and that'll go to our customer service and ask your question, and we can get an answer from Randall and send it back to you.
Yeah, or, is she a client already?
Or if you're a natural trust client, you have your direct contact with Randall.
Right. Direct. I don't mind. As long as it's, not 17 pages long, I'm fine.
Their second question is, what are the private banks or financial institutions that you mentioned? I think you already addressed that.
Can't do it. Right.
Yeah.
It's not happening yet.
Okay. Bruce says, thank you for today's information. I've learned a lot and I look forward to more. I have to exit for now. Ellie says, thank you so much. Thumbprint in red?
Yes.
Red ink?
Yeah, you buy them at any stationery store. I mean,
Okay.
it was something that I use it occasionally now on certain documents. I'll sign in blue wet ink and thumbprint it, and that makes it pretty permanent and pretty indisputable.
Unagaya, you said, I don't know who introduced me. I received the newsletter from Tonson. I don't know how. So just use our generic link that was printed here in this webinar. I gave it in the earlier part, and I'll give it again before we close. It'll also be on YouTube at brilliance-videos.com. You'll see the subscription link there. And we have a caller in with a raised hand from 450 area code. You are on the air.
Hi, Chanson. Hi, Randall. This is Marianne from Quebec.
Hi.
Hey, Marianne.
How are you?
I'm
Bonjour.
fine.
Well, you sound fine. You sound really good. I'm coming back with a question that I formerly asked, and I remember the answer. Could I make my trustee a beneficiary? And you had answered yes. Is that correct?
Well, let's do a little research on this. There are other trustees?
No, there's only one trustee.
And
I'm a grantor. I'm a beneficiary too. So my trustee, can my trustee be a beneficiary?
I would suggest no. and just pay her a hefty salary.
Okay. Okay. So,
It gets, what happens is you're closing the net. You're really closing the net down.
Yeah.
And I want you to leave it open. So if she's the only trustee and wants to be a beneficiary, then I would say no. That's really, it doesn't work enough.
Okay. How about if there was a second beneficiary, and a second trustee?
If it's non-related, if
Yeah.
the second trustee is non-related, then that would work. She could be one of the beneficiaries, but is she the only beneficiary?
No.
Oh, you have others.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that would work then.
But
I would, if she's going to be a trustee and a beneficiary, then I would have you have a second co-trustee.
That's what I was thinking, because I always felt something was wrong about this answer, or the way I understood it, at least. Okay, that answers the question. If I keep thinking of something else, I'll text you at the.
Okay.
I'll email you. Okay.
No problem.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Okay. Bye now.
Thank you, Marianne. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Okay, next in chat. Well, how you doing, Randall? We're probably going on and on here. We have more people today. Your first one for 2019.
Yeah, I'm okay now.
So I'm just going through all the...
my energy's up and rocking and rolling. So.
Okay, can we come over and go surfing with you pretty soon?
I sure hope so.
Okay, and we see some exchanges here in the chat showing the Creature from Jekyll Island and the links to that and so forth and so on. Thank you everyone for putting that up. Let's see. Thank you guys. Great presentation. Peace and blessings all around.
Yeah, and if you guys come now, the whales are here.
Whales. Wow. Yeah. In the early time of each year, I guess. Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of whales and dolphins jumping.
Yep. Pretty nice. Turtles swimming.
It may be that we've reached the end. I've looked through the chats. It's mostly discussions about things we've already talked about and no new questions on a different topic. If anyone does have from the telephone, you press *9 to raise your hand, or on the computer, you would click on the raise hand icon. But I've really enjoyed this exchange today, Randall. Your presentation and everyone else's questions are excellent. Good energy, great energy as always.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to it actually.
Yeah.
I knew that what we were going to cover is really home base for me, and I just wanted to make sure that people had the understanding of what I walked them through, and I'm ready for next month, I guess.
Carlos asked, do you guys do trustee apprentice?
Yeah, you'd have to be willing to shell out some money for the books. I would have to think about, what I would want to be compensated for. But if you're a fast learner and you're astute and you're willing to pick up things really fast, then we could work something out, no problem.
The first book would be Passing the Buck, or one of the others?
I don't know. I need to look at.
Carlos says, I already purchased both Passing the Buck volumes 1 and 2.
Okay, so this other one that's for later. If you really want to get into it, then it's it's, you know, a couple $100. It's a typical law book, but it has tremendous amount of information in it that's subtle and need to be perused. I mean, I've read it 3 or 4 times and I still, you know, find things in it that's valuable.
Carlos says, can I buy with Bitcoin? Yes, if you're talking about the trust, we have acceptance of Bitcoin on the website. As to the books, that would depend on your bookseller. But
Yeah,
yes,
Amazon probably.
yes, we do accept Bitcoin for the trusts. It's on the shopping cart.
Good. That's great. It's a great idea.
And we have a question from Raul. I'm going to unmute you, Raul, and you're welcome to speak. You're on the air.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Raul.
Yes, I just want to introduce myself because it's my first time on this call.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah, I am in Honduras, and I hope I will take my place in global currency reset. And then that's it. I have been reading your newsletter for about 2 or 3 years, but this is my first time on the talk. It's very good information you were sharing today. So every light work must be informed about everything is happening.
Great. Do you have a specific question that we can deal with today, or do you want to just write it later?
No, just for now, I just say thank you. And when will be another? You got another schedule for another talk, or?
Where do you live?
I am in Honduras.
Oh, I was coming down there for the weekend. You're going to be around?
Yes, I am very close to El Salvador. It's okay. It's a nice weekend.
You know, just put any questions you might have and either send them to the general box or find out my email. We'll go from there. We'll figure it out. Or just write Tanzan is the appropriate way to go is for Raul to just write to contact with BIC.
Right.
Oh, okay.
How did you find us, Raul?
Yes. Now I have Carlos from Florida as contact. My first contact I had on this call.
All right.
Then probably I will talk with him. He said that he speaks Spanish also, and then that will be great. I hope we will have another talk. Do you know that? Do you have any idea when we will have another talk?
February 13th.
All right, that's very good.
Yeah, usually the first or second Wednesday of each month, except for December. But we'll show this again here in a few minutes when we close up. But
all right.
We'll do this every month, and join our newsletter. Make sure you subscribe to that, and it'll announce it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Something critical comes up for you, Raul. Either send the question to Carlos, because I think I've written Carlos's trust already, or, you know, and this is, I don't want to get my feet in hot water, but I'm kind of leaving it up to Tanzan to say, do you want to, I don't mind responding to people that are have serious questions on trust, but I'm going to leave that to your judgment, Tanzan, on whether you want to have that posted, my email posted.
I will be in touch with Carlos, and I have no question for now. I appreciate your work. Thank you.
Thank you, Raul.
All right, Raul. Okay. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Adios.
Adios.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Anything else?
Tracy says, can you write gift letters after the RV as we do not know the value of currencies yet? Well, when you write a gift letter, Tracy, all you need to do is state the amount of the
Right.
currency.
The note. Right.
Yeah, the original amount of the notes. You don't need to know what the, converting value will be.
Exactly. And I would suggest that you have, if whoever you're gifting it to, I would suggest that you mention them that it would be wise to think about getting a trust for that gift, because even if it's a small denomination, it may have significant value.
Right. So you just state in the gift letter, I'm hereby gifting so many million dinar or so many million dong or whatever.
Right. Well, see, okay, now here's an issue that happens depending on how this all falls out, but there is a gift tax. If you give somebody more than, I think it's $14,000 or $15,000 a year, then there's a gift tax that goes back to the donor. So in other words, if you gave somebody $100,000, then you may have your own gift tax that you have to deal with. So I would suggest that if you're going to do that, that you have them consider starting, at least getting the abstract trust and starting them on their way to having a full trust.
James writes $18,000 per year allowed without tax.
Fine.
Yeah, so that's.
But if you give somebody a 1T Zim, then, and that converts before it goes into trust, then there's going to be a significant gift tax on that.
Okay. Aloha, Randall. Let's wrap it up here.
Good idea. It's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. You've been really vibrant. We've all been really vibrant today. The New Year's break was really good, I think. I'm looking forward to the 13th, and I'm going to start to get some quotes. And I think I'll do a bunch of quotes and expand on the quotes. Okay?
Quotes for what?
I'm going to get quotes out of my books that cost very much money.
Oh, yeah.
Mucho dinero, and see what I can extract. And then that can be like the headline of a topic, and then I can expand on that, and that'll really, give some new insights into what we're doing.
Okay, everyone. So for the February webinar, we're going to have salient quotes from some of the best law books in the world regarding asset protection.
Salient quotes. Oh, I'm going to write that right here.
And Randall's eloquent commentary thereof.
How do you spell eloquent? E-L-E-P-H-A-N-T? Oh.
Didn't you say you were going for a frontal lobotomy?
Yeah, a bottle in front of me.
Okay, everyone, there's the URL for those who don't have a referral affiliate, houseoffreedomtrust.com with dashes between each of the words. And then next month, February 13th, same time, same station, although there will be a different link because every time we do a Zoom webinar, there's a different call-in ID. So you'll have to watch the newsletter for that. And the newsletters are available, of course, at the same website. And also here's our phone number, 360-200-7521. And the newsletter sign up is on the website. It just,
how did you get your lawn red?
Oh, I just planted all these pink flowers there.
That's so trippy.
Well,
Okay, I'm
thank you
out of
again.
here. It's beyond blasted. The energy of today was really good, and I really acknowledge everybody that came online and said something, and I really appreciate all your questions. So thank you very much.
Aloha and mahalo, Randall, and thank you, everyone. And we will reconvene.
Next month, same time.
Okay.
Aloha.
Aloha.